don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD, Annabelle, and Melissa.
All right, well, it's another exciting episode. A favorite of ours is when we have guests, the opportunity to have guests on the show. And today we have Kyle Ballif. So he is a local real estate agent, licensed agent, as well as a real estate investor himself. So Kyle, thank you so much for being on our show today. So can you tell us a little bit about, why you got into real estate and, maybe what made you become a licensed agent?
I mean, the whole reason I got into real estate was to invest in real estate. It's always been kind of a passion of mine. So the reason I got my license was so my background is a degree in nursing. So I was working as a nurse, got my license on the side, started working part-time as a real estate agent to also use that extra money to save it to buy rental properties. So that was the whole reason I got into real estate. Then about 2 years, I started making more money selling real estate than I did in nursing. So I kind of gave that up and jumped into real estate. So I think I'm either in I can't remember. They go by so quickly. I'm either 4 or 5 years into this selling real estate. And in the last year, it was last January, my new partner, we've been flipping houses. I've done a couple of flips on my own, but not until heavily in the last year. We did about 8 or 9 this last year. And so that was the whole reason I got into real estate. Commission money by being able to sell it on my own. So it's kind of background there. It's roundabout.
Yeah. I got to ask, do you ever miss nursing?
No.
All right.
Great. Well, so you got into real estate as an agent so that you could invest, and now you run a successful real estate agent business and also as an investor. And I'm wondering, could you maybe talk to some of our newer investors about the benefits of using a licensed agent that's investor friendly as opposed to just whoever they see on the sign or the first name that pops up on Zillow when they're looking at a property, and kind of walk them through why maybe it's a good idea to get somebody who understands what they're doing before they just get in bed with anybody?
That's a great question. That was always my biggest pet peeve as a realtor is why would you buy for someone that doesn't even own their own home? You'd be surprised at how many don't, and you're trying to take advice from someone that doesn't even own their own home. So the same thing applies to a realtor, an investor-friendly realtor. Why would you take advice from someone that's never done it themselves? So if they've invested in real estate, they know how the game works, they know the pitfalls, they know what can go wrong. The biggest thing, one of my current customers or clients, whatever you want to call it, loves it because I can go through, he lives in Canada, so I go through his flips and nitpick everything the contractors missed, and I know what I'm looking for and what they screwed up, and a regular agent may or may not understand how to do that or why that's important, and those are some of the big reasons. Plus, I mean, investor-friendly, again, managing contractors, as you guys know, is a headache. And that's just you understand that game. So you understand the pressure and you understand the stress they're already going through, so you can relate to that. As a regular agent may not understand that stress and the work that goes into that. They also don't. Yeah, there's just a lot of benefits to it. Just because I'm in it, I know I can teach you. Well, not teach you. We don't have to have that conversation of what's going wrong because we already know. We can just move on. In a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I'd say is that it's important to get a real estate agent that is investor friendly and understands investment, not just a real estate agent that pretends to understand investments, because I get a lot of them that start talking about things that are important, but you can tell that they don't actually have any of their own investments. When they're talking more about cap rate on a single family as opposed to multifamily investments, when they're understand the technical terms that you learn when you go to your real estate education, that's one thing. But when you have somebody who actually understands why we're looking for the type of cash flow that we're looking for and stuff like that, and can analyze a deal based off of the income that it's producing or not producing and the income it has potential to earn, it's so much better than somebody who just sees it as a house or has been working with residential buyers, because there's a complete difference between your residential buyer and your investor buyer. So
right, and that's also understanding the market. I mean, a typical residential buyer, they'll want to help someone invest in real estate because that's what they were taught. I mean, I'll give you an example. In some classes in real estate, they'll teach you to always ask, do you know someone that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Well, those first two, yeah, you can find someone, you can help someone buy. It's pretty easy. That third one is not very easy, because when an investor understands that you're not who you say you are and you know nothing about investing in real estate, they'll catch on very quickly.
And
then they'll use
if you're a regular agent and you're trying to do that, like at least they could get a referral fee. But if they come in and pretend like they have it and they don't, then I'm just not going to use them and not listen to really anything that they have to say. So.
Right, because they also don't understand the rental market, because they only want to sell you a residential home. They don't understand the market. The only thing they really understand is the cost of the house and possibly what it could rent for. They don't understand your expenses, your mortgage, your taxes, insurance, everything it's going to cause you to lose money, basically. Or they don't understand any of that. They just say, well, it's making $1,400 a month and you're paying $100 for it. It should be a great deal. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
Let's talk about that.
We'll talk about vacancy or maintenance. So
Right.
Along that same lines, do you have any advice that you would offer somebody who's a new, we have an established business, you have an established business, a lot of people do, but there's always those people who are just getting into it. Maybe they're wearing all the hats. Do you have any recommendations, or what would you tell somebody that's a new investor or wants to be a new investor, how they get started, or who maybe they should ally with to really get off the ground?
That's funny you say ally, because you must be talking to Chris a lot. That's his favorite word. He doesn't mention friends. It's all allies who can help him get to his next level. But same thing, you really need a mentor in this business. I mean, I've tried to go out and learn it myself and have failed miserably. And every time when I've got a mentor, and just the level of just listening to a mentor and doing what they say, and you can find success. I mean, you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. You just need to go learn what other people are doing and follow their example and get a good teacher, because that's how I mean, this last year, that's the reason I've been successful, is because of my mentor.
Right. Absolutely. And I think we follow that. There's a certain level that you can understand definitions and the basic stuff that you can get without a mentor, right? Like everybody can Google and find those basic terms, but the practical experience and application that people who have already been doing this business for a while bring is so valuable. Trying to get a good one, and sometimes that's paid mentorship, sometimes that's just partners from your local RIAs, but I can't stress enough how valuable it is to have somebody that's been where you're at, doing the things you want to do, to kind of show you or guide you down that path.
Well, yeah, it brings up a good point. You can find all the knowledge you want online, but if you don't know how to use it correctly, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, sometimes you know too much for your own good.
I mean, you can learn all you want from biggerpockets.com and think you're the best investor there is, and then not realize you can go make a million mistakes and get burned and then never want to do it again.
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen that a lot.
Well, my thing with the mistakes is everybody makes mistakes. We make mistakes on every single deal that we do. Maybe we should have we should have accounted for 357 screws, but we only counted for 250. Like there's all these little mistakes that you make. The thing that I think mentorship brings is it allows you to avoid those big catastrophic mistakes, right? Like if maybe I overvalued my property just a little bit, okay, that's fine, right? And if I undervalued the rehab cost a little bit, that's fine. But if I overvalued it by $30,000 or $50,000, $100,000, that's when you really can get burned. And that's one of the reasons that we like to partner and build relationships with the real estate agents, because a lot of them can pull really accurate comps. They have access to all the MLS data and all that kind of stuff. And so building those allies, like we talked about, and having that mentorship prevents you from making those catastrophic mistakes that will sink your business.
Right. I mean, that's my current partner. He's a lot more aggressive than I am, and you know from personally meeting him. And I'm the guy that's like, whoa, let's step back and look at this. It's not quite what you think it is. And that's because I know the market compared to someone, he's not local. So that's the value I bring, is understanding the market. Say, okay, you think it's worth that because you looked at Zillow. Zillow it's not even getting to Zillow. It's not even a topic. But so that's just the value of knowing the market. You know what they're going to sell for in those neighborhoods because you've done it, compared to someone. That's what a lot of investors do. They look on Zillow. Oh, it's worth 150. We're going to make one, so we can make 60 grand on it. In reality, it was worth 120, and you just lost your shirt. So it's just the advantage of knowing the market.
Even the investors that are even local, they still are not going to know the market like you do. I mean, even if I knew all the streets, I'm still not going to know the market.
Right, because you're not studying every day. And
exactly.
Right.
Because every different neighborhood has a different sell point, and there's certain things about the neighborhood, especially on the beach. Every condo has a different specialty to it, or this pro or con to it, and you got to know all those. And the average person's never going to know all the pros and cons of a condo.
Yeah, that's a good example here for sure.
When I'm just using Zillow, even if I'm just using it for like the sold comps, that doesn't tell me if there's any concessions on the deal. It doesn't tell me anything like that. It just tells me the sale price. And if I'm just looking at the overlay map of the sold data, you can go from at the front end of the street, all the houses are 2007 and newer, and then move down just a couple houses and everything is 1940 and later. And if you're trying to pull comps just from the quick look at Zillow or any of those other online ones, you're trying now to comp a 1940 house with a 2017 house, and it doesn't. It might look good, but you can get in a lot of trouble doing that kind of stuff.
All right, you might not understand if it has a garage or whatever hidden things are in the home that Zillow's not going to tell you.
Right.
So Zillow's, I have a love-hate relationship with Zillow. It's a good starting point, but it should not be your ending point.
Right. Agreed, 100%.
Yeah.
That's right. So do you think you could, transitioning a little bit, could you tell us about maybe some of the deals you got going on now, or what direction you plan on taking your company and your business, either on the real estate agent side or on the investor side? What's coming up in the new year?
So my partner, like we said, is a little aggressive. So we're going to probably start a brokerage here in the next year. And it's going to be an investor-friendly brokerage where we basically appeal to all the investors. And that's how we're going to advertise and kind of grow it throughout the Panhandle from Pensacola to Tallahassee area, along with growing our flipping wholesaling business and our rental, our buy and hold, which is our big thing. We did buy a mobile home park this year, and we're looking to buy several more this year as well. That's the investments we focus on.
Yeah, I saw you got a screaming deal. It looked like you worked some magic there. I don't know where you got that voodoo magic, but I want some.
Yeah.
That's important of understanding the market, my friend.
Right.
Better than everybody else. Yep, that's absolutely right.
Kyle, one of the questions that we get asked so often is kind of, how did you find each other as partners? How did you know that you were going to work well together? So I think our listeners know at this point that we found each other through a mastermind group. And we did one smaller multifamily, testing that out to make sure that we could handle an apartment complex together. And then we moved into the next thing. So can you talk a little bit about how you found your partner and how you guys how you're evolving and growing together?
And then as well, how do y'all have duties assigned within that partnership?
So my partner was actually my coach, mentor. I hired him as a coach. He actually owns a house out in Destin, and he wanted to move here full time. So he basically reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's talk about a possible partnership. Well, let's try it out for a couple months and see if it works." So we tried it out for a little. We found out that we liked each other. It worked. And so we went from small partnership to becoming full-on partners within a full year. And this year we'll probably do close to 450 net in revenue. And we have 30 units that we purchased. And we did like eight or nine flips this year, one of being an apartment complex. So it's building. You got to have someone that you can trust, someone that's ethical, someone that understands each other's work ethic and understands their value that they both bring. So those are some big things. Trust is a big thing. You gotta be able to trust your partner and know that he's got your back. And you got to be able to talk through things, and you got to answer your phone. That's a big thing to me. You laugh, but it's true. If he doesn't answer the phone,
Sometimes we're on Zoom until 2 o'clock in the morning. Like making sure those open lines of communication are there. That was handled. Everything we got to handle. So we laugh because we know that open communication really matters.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. I mean, my partner's worth, I don't know, he's probably worth 30 million, but he'll pick up the phone whenever I call him. If not, he'll call me right back. So that tells the importance of the communication and the trust. So
the importance of how much he values you, right? And how much value you bring to that partnership. If you were just some random person, you wouldn't be partnered with somebody who's been so successful, and that's a testament to the business that you're running and operating on a daily basis. So that's pretty awesome too.
And then how do y'all divide the responsibilities within the partnership? Is it set duties for each one, or how do y'all decide that?
Not really set duties. I mean, most of the leads come through him, and he qualifies them and then sends them to me. I go on all the appointments, do all the contracts and paperwork, and manage the flips, which, as you know, can be one of the biggest headaches of the whole thing. But
we share our stories, our war stories. And so the follow-up to that is, so how do you find your contractors? He doesn't want to tell you. No, he is, because we're sharing some. So.
Trial and error. I'm through referrals. That's really where I get them from, because I don't like to call random people.
Right.
Because you never know what you're going to get. But if you can have a referral, you know that they've worked well through someone else. That's why that's the best way to find it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And networking. You always got to be networking.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Some of us are better at networking than others. Yeah. I think my other question is, do you have a written contract? Is it a handshake agreement? How are you working? Do you operate inside of an entity together? What does that part of your partnership look like?
We have an entity for our mobile home park. We operate out of his entity for the wholesaling business. Mm-hmm. However, as we're expanding all the way to Pensacola this year, we will be starting our own entity to do everything under that. So it started with a handshake, but now it's become much more.
Right.
And that's like we're expanding out there too.
Yeah. Well, we already have our first deal, so come on, catch up.
Well, if you find a good enough one, we'll buy it from you.
Yeah, true.
Right.
That's awesome. I guess, what made you guys decide that it was time to expand out that way? How did you make the decision? And then how did you make the decision that that's the market? So if I was gonna go to a different state and say, I want to find the next place that we want our company to go into, what are some of the factors that you looked into that made you decide, okay, this is a good place, but we're not going to go to South Florida, or we're not going to go to Alabama? How did you decide? We like the jobs, we like the growth, we like the environment. What did you look at to make those?
Like the growth of Florida. Florida has the most amount of people moving here on a weekly or daily basis than any other state.
Wow.
Hold on, sorry.
That's all right.
Kids walked in.
No worries. We had to turn ours off because our kids come in from time to
And we
time.
had to bring my mother.
Oh,
So
yeah.
shout out to all the grandparents and moms for
Still
holding it
watching
down.
kids right now.
So the reason we like Florida, again, everyone's moving here, everyone's retiring here, so the growth is better than any other state, really. I mean, I'm from the West Coast. I grew up in Utah, moved here about 8 years ago, and the growth here has just been astronomical since I've been here, and it's just growing like crazy, especially Pensacola. We've got almost 500,000 there, so there's a lot more opportunity there as that continues to grow all the way down to Panama City and Panama City Beach. You've been through there, I know. It's the only undeveloped shoreline left in the country, so you know it's going to grow.
Yep.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
So
So
that's why we like the area.
how are you pinpointing certain areas? Are you doing them through mailers or cold calling or a combination or Facebook or social media? You know,
You're asking for all our secrets now.
and I'm not asking you like that, and I know it comes across that way, but just because we know that all of the new investors want to know how to market. That's always a big thing, how to get private money and how to market. Those are the two really big ticket items that people want to learn from.
True, but new investors can't afford all the marketing that most of us are doing right now. So they really need to be focusing on driving for dollars, bandit signs, and cold calling. That's all they should be doing until they can afford a lot of the online stuff, because online's the most expensive stuff you can get involved in. So that's what I would do as a new investor. Do just as much as you can without having to spend money.
And
Because bandit signs $100 a month, a couple $100 a month.
how do they know when to take their marketing up a notch? Is there
When
like
they start producing income, I mean, if every deal they should start putting away for new advertising.
yes,
How you grow a business.
yes, we totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think there comes a certain point when you get like a diminishing return, right? Your bandit signs, even if you're working one market, you put your bandit signs out every day. At a certain point, you're going to have 25 bandit signs on the same corner, but you're not getting any more value out of that bandit sign. Having one or two there is going to do just as good as 35. So there's a certain point where your time and the value you're receiving on the time diminishes. And I think really you're only going to know that by tracking your numbers, but a lot of it is kind of, if you're bandit signs and you're getting so many calls a week, well, doubling your bandit signs not going to get you any more calls. So once you've exhausted that method, then going into another marketing channel, once if you had 150 cold callers calling every single person in a town of 3,000, like you're only going to have 2 days worth of phone calls before you contacted everybody. So then we have to move on. And I'm sure there's an equilibrium where we have to call enough that we're getting everybody, but you don't have too many people doing it. And once you get to that point, I'm sure your deal flow starts to plateau, and then it might be time to either go deep or go wide, I guess, depending on expanding into another market, if that's where you want to go, which looks like is where you guys kind of got to, or if you want to double down on some of the other channels within the same market.
There's only so many motivated sellers in an area, so it's only so much you can do in one circle. So you got to expand out if you really want to increase your wealth. So.
Well, that's another huge benefit that you guys have with you being a licensed real estate agent is some of those deals that are going to be dead for me you guys can turn into another profit center because you have that other stream of income through your residential sales. Do you explore that option at all through your guys' business? Are you getting leads in and then converting them to traditional sale as opposed to investor?
Yes, yes and no. It's hard to, when you're going as an appointment to buy it, it's really hard to flip to say, oh, well, let me list it now. But we still do that, and that's why we're going to start with the brokerage, is also to bring that to another profit center as well for that exact reason.
What about before the appointment? Just the phone call. Hey, I got your postcard in the mail or whatever. I'm looking to sell my house. We want X amount of dollars completely rehabbed, and we don't have a time. Do you try to convert them at that point before you go on the appointment?
No, I mean, my main purpose, I really want to buy them, so that's kind of my main focus.
Yeah.
When I talk to them.
I understand.
And then
another question we get a lot is kind of like when to pay for mentorship or when to pay for that coaching. I just love that you invested in your education and in a coach. Can you walk us through a little bit your decision matrix when you decided to do that for JD? Like, he started there. He started with the mastermind, and then we've just kind of, as we grew in our knowledge, we found some better fitting mastermind. But can you walk us through your decision to invest in your education and get yourself a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of it on my own, bigger pockets. Like I make fun of that, but that's where I started. And I learned a lot of knowledge from that. And I actually did buy a couple properties on my own before I ever hired a mentor. I even flipped a couple on my own. But I wasn't going to get to that next level on my own because I didn't know where to go from there. And so that's why I decided to hire a coach. And it's education. It's the most important thing you can do is learn. You can't ever stop learning. And as you know, every deal you learn a new lesson. And something you won't repeat or do again. So that's why the importance of education. So that's why I hired a coach, is I wanted to get to the next level. I knew I couldn't do it on my own. I needed someone to answer my questions. Now, I wasn't a beginner when I kind of hired the coach, but I was not advanced either. So to get to the level I am today, I had to call the coach or hire a coach. That's the other thing too, is you got to be careful who you hire. You got to ask them, if you're interviewing a coach, you need to say, how many deals are you doing? What are you doing today? Because if they're not actively in real estate, they're kind of a scam artist.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're trying to sell you. And that's what really attracted me to Chris, is he does what he preaches. And so that's why I joined with him, because he had proof. You got to have proof. You have to have credibility.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you think that there's guys out there that are able to fabricate their proof? I see that a lot, and it's hard to vet. So how did you vet Chris? I mean, obviously he's all over the place all the time, so you've seen a lot. But is there any way that you would say, like, hey, because I can go on my computer right now and print you up a HUD statement on a property that I never did. So what are you looking at to verify that they are actually doing deals and active?
You got to kind of do your research on them, not just asking them, but also kind of doing on them, researching them, look for reviews. I know you can fake reviews, but you can't fake every review. There are going to be some that get out there you can kind of understand. And again, there are going to be some people that just don't want to learn, and so they become disgruntled and give you a bad review. But again, there's enough out there you can go find out. I would be very careful of the people that are posting in front of their Lamborghinis or their Ferraris or their big houses, because the odds are they don't have those, or they're going to lose them shortly.
Yeah, I can go rent a Ferrari for a weekend for $200 and make all the videos I want.
Right, which is, I think that's how Ty Lopez became famous, is that's what he did. He rented 6 of them.
Yeah.
And was washing them. So yeah, you got to pay attention to the fake. That's what drew me to Chris, is he's not fake. He's real. He doesn't drive around in a Lambo, drives around in a Ford F-150, goes to the actual houses, shows you every detail, which an average coach isn't going to know every detail So you got to pay attention to what they're showing you in their videos and teaching you. That's how you can kind of find out if they're fake or real. But my thing is, if they're flashing their Lamborghini, I would run.
Yeah, as quick as you can. I think you're right there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So kind of wrapping up, Kyle, what is your one piece of advice that you would give to the beginner real estate agent? Or, excuse me, real estate investor?
I would be to hire a coach or a mentor. There's no better way.
Good.
The one way to keep you out of trouble, too.
Yeah, that's true, definitely. All right, Kyle.
Yeah. Go ahead. I was going to say, because if you get burned on your first deal, the odds are you'll never do it again.
Absolutely. Now,
So.
if you burned on your 150th deal, like, all right.
Yeah, you'll pull through.
You'll be all right. You can make it through that. Sometimes.
Right.
I guess it depends on how big the deal is. If it's 3 times bigger than any deal you ever did, you might quit, I guess. I wouldn't, but somebody might. Smarter than me might.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, we want to be respectful of your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you for, making the time to be with us. We know 2020 is going to have big things in store for both of us. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I really hope we can work on something in the future. That's going to be awesome. We appreciate your time today.
All right, you're welcome. We'll see you tonight.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and updates, check out our website, shorefrontrestorations.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Shorefront Restorations. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at info@shorefrontrestorations.com. See you next episode.